already doing. It's not one song, it's like I'm doing like a 4-song mashup with the whole band.
Do you need me to help you with any of it? Are you good? Or?
Right now it's good. I've been working on it since November, so.
Cool. Nice.
And getting like the music ready and everything, getting the band together, rehearsing it, so.
Are you doing anything this summer? Are you going to classes or are you going
I'm probably gonna be doing like a 10-week internship at a church in Hernando, like 3 days a week. So I'll be in town, but that's probably what stuff I'm gonna do.
What are you going to do next semester?
Next semester, I'm leaning towards staying. I haven't like thought about, like, I haven't had like a sit down and like think about it for real. It's just kind of been like stirring in my head a lot.
You mean staying here?
Yeah, I'm thinking about staying. It's kind of where I feel like I'm leaning towards, but I haven't like sat down and thought about it and like really looked at
Have
it.
they talked to you all about the program and everything?
Yeah, they talked to us about it, and I need to schedule a Zoom meeting with Dr. Ken and my mom and me, so that way we can all talk about it. Because I've already talked about it with my mom used to know as well. So.
Right. So what did they tell you about what's going to happen with the program today?
So far, it seems like
I'm actually not sure either. I don't know much. I don't.
It seems like they're shifting to more of a. It's gonna be like less academic based, I guess. So they're still gonna be like. It won't be as like assignment heavy. It's gonna be more focused on like preparing you for what the music industry has become over time. So like how it's more like digitized and like. You can have a whole career like online now versus kind of sort of. There are people.
There are people that get paid to do it, you know.
Yeah.
But it just depends on what your goals are. But yeah, the curriculum here I've always thought was good. I mean, in fact, a lot of the music schools that are like say U of M, and my son's going to MTSU, and they have commercial music degrees, which here is pretty much started off as you know they teach you jazz and all these other things, but with the basic goal is to have a commercial music degree program.
Yeah.
And so all these other schools, you know, music school generally in this country was either geared mainly towards, you know, if you go back to the 60s and 70s, it was all marching band, European music, wind band, brass band. And in the 60s and 70s, they started having some jazz programs, but not many. And in the 80s, more jazz programs. And then there was now tons of jazz programs. And now the new thing is commercial music program. It's not new anymore, but U of M added one maybe 3 years ago or something like that. MTSU, I think, has had one for a while. A lot of schools have commercial music programs. So somebody asked me one time to compare here to, say, a bigger, whatever, state school, like or U of M or wherever. And I went to University of Kentucky, which is kind of the same type thing. And the difference is this curriculum is really good for modern purposes, but the other thing is that there are fewer ensembles to play in, and there are fewer people to play with, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that that's a bad thing. Everybody here is sort of focused on this certain thing. If you go to school with a bunch of oboe players or whatever, you know, people playing European classical music, that, or band directors or whatever, that may or may not translate to gigs. I don't know if it does or not. I mean, I work for some people that I went to school with still, and you do network, but chances are most of those people are, a lot of them are sort of geared towards a certain career, like being a band director, or orchestra director, or private teacher, or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people that I played jazz with, I still play with. In fact, some of them got me some of the gigs that I've gotten over the years. In fact, the guy I worked with got me a recommendation for this gig. And he just threw my name in the hat for it, and a friend of mine that I went to school with got me the Rhodes gig. So you network in different ways in different situations. I wouldn't say any one situation is going to be the magic pill to get success in what you want. It's really about the student more than anything, because there are kids that are going to go to, you know, some tiny little college out in the middle of nowhere that are going to have a career in music that's amazing, and there's some cats going to Juilliard that are never going to make a cent.
Yeah.
You know, it has almost nothing to do with the school. I won't say nothing, but it has more to do with you as how motivated you are, which I can see you are motivated, how much you kind of keep your practicing and chops clean, how much you get out in the community, and, you know, and you seem to be aware of that. A lot of kids don't, and I even tell them, go out and do some listening and playing and hanging and all that stuff. And that's how you get gigs too. You get to know people when you're young and any age. And so it's really just a matter of what you want. If you were to say, I want to be a band director and teach, you know, marching band or something, obviously visible is not really that kind of thing, but depends on what your goals are, you know. And I honestly don't really know exactly what they're talking about or what exactly is happening, honestly. I only know probably about as much as y'all know about it too, but, you know, and I'll stay on board if they have, you know, I teach lessons for a living, so if they offer it, I'll do it, you know, and so I'll still be here if they have it, you know, or wherever it is, I don't know, but
I think they're also trying to make it to where, like, the students are trained in multiple areas of the music industry versus like doing the one thing. I mean, I know they have like classes here for like multiple things, but like
you also have to take English and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think like let's say there's like a performance on Thursday or something for an event at the school. I may be a drummer, but maybe I'm helping like run sound or like set up mics or things like that, or like so that way I'm a little. I was talking
to somebody about this, like, they were like, do other recitals, you have to like do the lights and the visual, none of that? I said, no, but like at U of M, they don't make you do that at all. You just pretty much play, you write a paper, you do a hearing and all that stuff, but you don't have to have visuals, you don't have to really say anything you don't want to say. And in a way, it's kind of better to make, you know, the thing is, once you start to, even if you just do those skills on the most rudimentary level, it allows you to be like, you know, like I was talking to him about the lighting thing. I said, well, look, I've been offered to do a lighting thing on gigs where they said, oh, just bring some lights and do the lights and we'll pay you another $100 or whatever it is. And the fact that I don't own a lighting rig and have never done it means that I'm probably not gonna do it, you know what I'm saying? But even on the most rudimentary level, the things that you do in school will open the door to, yeah, I can do that, sure. It's easy, you know, it's not much more than what I did when I did this other thing or whatever. And that's usually what it amounts to, is like, it doesn't seem like a big deal to do the most, you know, basic version of something, but it's the doorway into feeling confident enough to say, I want to try to do this thing, or to, you know, your small amount of experience might be better than someone's no experience, you know what I'm saying? Like, but, you know, obviously there's size differences, you know, between a big school and a small school, but, you know, it's really about focus, you know. I listened to this Nashville Drummers podcast, and about half of them went to some school that was, say, like prestigious in some way, you know, Belmont, or less, I'd say less than half of them. And most of them went to some little tiny school somewhere, in, you know, wherever, and just could play and were motivated, and sometimes just a little bit of luck and knowing the right people. But, you know, the cream always kind of rises to the top, and good players kind of find their way through there, you know what I mean? Like, there's a sea of players out there, but not everybody is motivated, can show up on time, easy to work with, you know, shows up looking right, knowing the music, blah, 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 all those little things. And so that tends to separate out a lot of people. A lot of people can't show up on time, can't learn the music ahead of time or whatever. So being organized and all that stuff, but, you know, and you have to ask yourself what your end goal is, you know. If at the end of this you want a degree on paper that says, you know, I went to, say, an accredited school, you know, then that, you know, I don't know if that's the right answer for you, but if all you're looking for is the job skills, then that might be a better option, because, I don't know, I'm not pushing one way or the other. I work at all these schools, so I don't have, you know, necessarily a vested interest in any of them, and I'm not recruiting for any of them, but it really depends on what your life goals are, you know. If you were to say, okay, you know, some people, what they do is they get a performance degree, and they say, well, I'm not really gigging as much as I want to be a music teacher, like I was talking to him about. Then they'll go and get their ed certifications, but the problem with that is if you did it, say, at an uncertified school, then you wouldn't necessarily be able to do, you'd have to get probably some sort of, I don't know, credential saying that you can do it. Maybe they would count it, I have no idea, but I have a feeling that you probably have to go to an accredited school. But again, it's like, what are you looking for? Like, the thing that it does give them to not be accredited is the freedom to say, you don't have to take algebra, you don't have to take English, you don't have to take, you know, and you can spend that time learning about tech stuff, you know. That is a good thing, because honestly, a lot of the kids, you know, it's great that they learn all these other things, but if you're a working musician, is it really, you know, beneficial to you to take the history of theater? You know, I mean, yeah, it's a great class and I had fun taking it, but probably would have been better off taking an accounting class about how to manage my money, or music tech class that was worth, you know, the time to do it, or, you know, so it's a trade-off. And what are you looking for out of your degree? Are you looking for just experience and connections? Are you looking for a accredited degree? Do you have a desire to be a teacher? Do you have a desire to be just a performer and whatever else, you know? Sometimes all that tech stuff can be just as much money for you as playing your instrument. I have a friend who's an amazing bass player, but he doesn't hardly ever play at church on Sunday because he's always getting audio and visual work, because that's hard to find. And he probably makes better money doing that, I would guess, I don't know, but, and he's totally comfortable working in that realm, and that's not something I wish I had done that more. In fact, one of my students played in the original version of Hamilton. I don't know if I brag on
As
it.
an orphan?
No,
Oh, like the original one?
real.
Okay.
He just stopped about, I don't say like, maybe during the pandemic, 3 or 4 years ago, he moved to LA, but he was a kid from Jonesboro. He played jazz. He also played the death metal band. I didn't even know it at the time, but he was into all kinds of crazy stuff. He's the very first person I ever heard use the word trap beats.
Right.
And like the very first person, like, he was a great drummer, you know, and played swing, but he was so into all these other genres of music. Every week it was something new. I'm totally obsessed with this, you know, blah, blah, blah. So he ends up moving to Nashville for like less than a year, and then he ends up going to New York, and he meets people, and he ends up playing he's on the original recordings, he's not the drum set player, there's like a drum set guy, and there's like the electronic percussion guy.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where his other areas of expertise came in. He was into writing music, he was into triggering sounds, into making beats, as well as playing jazz and funk or whatever else. And one of the most studious drummers that I ever had, probably. There's been about, I don't know, I'd say a handful of drummers that when I say, do this, they come back and say, well, I did that, but I also did this and added to this, blah, 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 tried all these other things. And like, he was that cat, and like, would learn more than what I ever told him to learn, and was very thorough, but he ended up partially at the right place at the right time, but he also had the skill set was not just playing the drums, it was drums and electronica, whatever you call it, you know, recording, composition, probably made some of those triggers. He played on the remix album, which was like Questlove played on it, and all this stuff, and like tons of people redid those songs that were famous people that sang on it. And he met Obama and all that stuff, you know, like, I remember seeing it, I was like, it's like, yeah, play on it. I saw it sort of unfold, because I hadn't seen it in years, but through time, it was like, wow, so-and-so came to our show last night. Wow, Obama came to our show last night. Like, it kind of grew and grew. But all that to say is that your skill set should be wider than just probably playing the drums. Like, my skill set is, I can teach anybody any drum instrument, you know, without fear of not knowing what to do next or anything like that. I can teach orchestral percussion. I can teach hand drumming. I can teach double bass. I teach people that. I'm not the best at it, but I definitely can clean it up for people. And I taught people great. I had a student a couple of years ago won the concerto competition on marimba. You know, I taught him. So some of these things that I do aren't necessarily what you want to do, but you know, if you can run the lights, sound, record, sample stuff, make a track for somebody, whatever else, all that stuff is income streams. Teach people, teach lessons. You know, if you're willing to do that kind of thing, the people that sort of fail at music to me are the people that only can do, all I do is heavy metal, grunge rock, you know, like, well, okay, good luck with that, you know. And maybe some of them make a living doing that if you get in a famous band or something, but even that, if you hit the highest point of that, can, you know, so you need things that will sustain you in your money situation for the rest of your life. You don't want to be like, boy, I really hope I get famous with my band, you know, not that you're not doing that, but I get people that are doing that, and you have to be realistic about that. I mean, not to shoot anybody's dreams down, and certainly people do get famous, and it certainly happens, but you don't want to just wait for that. You got to make, if that's what you're going for, then you got to make that happen too. And there's, you know, I guess avenues for that too, you know, marketing and whatnot. But, you know, to me, I like to see students who have a definitive vision for what it is that they're, you know, the first day a kid comes to me at any school, of course, I didn't start any of you, well, I did start you, I guess, but most of the time I say, well, what degree are you getting, and what is your end goal once you graduate? Because I've literally had, and this happens a couple of times, and I've been telling them, it's not that you don't have to have a definitive plan, but you can have goals and somewhat of a vision, and that can change. Your goals can change, your vision can change, your concept of whatever it is that you want out of life can change, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. But just sort of kind of blindly going at some broad thing is a little bit hard to do, and young people need to sort of figure out what it is that I really want out of this, and what do I need to do? Maybe where do I need to move to make that happen? You know what I'm saying? So, whether you stay in Memphis or move to another city, or stay at this school or go to another school, it really boils down to what do you do with it, you know what I mean? And, I've seen it time and again, and even really, really talented musicians sometimes don't have the career that they want, because maybe they spend all their time playing their scales in their practice room and don't ever really do anything. Like, they can blaze, but they don't have the connections, networking, real world gigging skills. So many players can play their butt off, and you get them on a gig and they don't know any tunes, or they don't, you know what I mean? Just playing a great jazz saxophone solo or piano or whatever is a great skill, but that's just one skill in the whole world of having to play a gig. Can you play a dance tune? Can you play, an hour's worth of songs, and make it interesting for everyone, and not play things that are strange or whatever. So, but it always comes back to the person that's doing it, more than the school. You can go to the most prestigious school in the world, and if you don't put the work in, then it just doesn't matter, doesn't really work for you. All right, well, let's do some drumming here. You done with your lunch? Are you good? Once more?
I'll be good.
Let me find my phone here. Where were we? My son's kind of battling with that too. He went to MTSU, and he's pretty much on a full ride scholarship there, but he sort of also knows that he could have gone, he got money at the other, prestigious schools, like he got into IU in Indiana and North Texas and a few others. But it would have cost him a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like North Texas would have been like 17 grand, and it's like really expensive. Actually cheaper than most, because it's a state school, but it still would have been, even with all the, because there's tons of music students there and only so much money. So even though they gave him what they thought was a lot, it still would have been a lot for us to pay. Yeah. $17,000 a year for 4 years ain't, nothing to sneeze at. And so he kind of went for the more good money situation, but he's kind of toying with transferring, and I don't know, I kind of hope I just want him to do what makes him happy, but at the same time, where he's at, he's doing pretty good. I mean, he's saving money. It's a tough call. There's no one right answer to the road to success, but other than to work hard and be prepared for the opportunities that come your way, and meet as many people as you can, and do as good a job as you can for them.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let me find where we're at, where we left off with. Linear patterns, reading, paradiddles over foot patterns, new breed 2, 3, 4, rolling triplets. Oh, okay. Well, let's try this rolling triplet thing. Now, talking about jazz and whatnot, I've been doing this with a lot of students lately, and this is basically to kind of get you some left-hand chatter. I call it rolling triplets because it's basically a continuous flow of triplets that you're going to play. Yeah. And did we touch on this at all? Or?
A little bit, yeah.
So there's sort of a bit of a system I've kind of developed for this, but it kind of just starts off by just playing. The first rhythm that I usually do is this one, 1, and 2, and 3. But if you swing it, it's 1, 2, 3, low pads all over. And now, the next step would be to be able to do it with swing right over the right lane. So, what you can do is you can, move the left hand all around or whatever, but you can also permutate, meaning like find all the variations of that rhythm. So this rhythm turns into a bunch of different rhythms. It's very commonly played, a big band rhythm, and whether, any other style as well. But what you can do is scoot it over an eighth note, and you get 8 variations. If you do it 8 times, scoot it over 8 times, you get variations like that. So I'm going to do the first 4, but then after that, you can sort of see, bing, 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 bing. You can kind of come up with your own. But then we have 3/4 versions of it. I'm going to take this with you here. Ding, ding, bing, bing. Oops, I did that wrong. No. So it'd be like this.
So we're not gonna do all these right now, but, so these are the first four variations, bing, bing, ba-ding, ding, and then ba-ding, ding, 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 ga-ding, ding, 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 ga-ding, ding, ding. Play it with swing or around the kit. Ding, 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 ga-ding, ding, 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 ga-ding, all from just that first one. Now there's four more that you can do as well.
Yeah.
But then also I switch to, usually with this, go to a 3/4 pattern as well. Where are you thinking about going if you don't go here, or are you?
I'm really not sure if I don't go.
You're thinking about laying out of school, or?
I mean, this is kind of the only college I really wanted to go to be really like I actually wanted to go to, because I looked at a bunch of different options. So if I didn't go, maybe I wouldn't go to another college, to be honest.
Huh? I'm sorry.
If I didn't go to this one, I probably just wouldn't go to another one.
Mhm.
So, if I don't go, if I don't go here next semester and don't transfer, I don't think I'll transfer. I really like visible, so I want to see if I can at least try to make it work.
Sure.
To stay.
How many kids are gonna be here next year, you know?
Really, how many are staying?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I don't know either.
No.
Bing, bing, ba-ding. There it is. So, I'm just trying to write out these variations here for you. So let's look at this 3/4 one here real quick. The first one there is basically just that without one. Ding, ding, da-ding, ding, ding, ga-ding, ding, ding, da-ding. It's kind of the same deal, but just a little different. Same but different, as they say.
On the ride,
Yeah, we're gonna do on the ride first. Doing it in six, kind of like in 6/4, so it's 3, so it meets up every 6, it's like ding, 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 it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Kind of a hard thing to do, so I usually just kind of show it to people. If you want to work on that, you can. But here's the more natural way to play it. That would be kind of. This is basically, you know, the old marching band rhythm. You know, it's a double. It's not really marching band rhythm, but it's a rhythm that they play for double strokes in marching band. So what this is going to be that rhythm, but we're going to swing it. It's going to look like this. So the rhythm is going to be, if you play it straight, da 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 da, beady 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 beat beat. But if you swing it, ding ding, ga ding ding ding, ga ding ding ding, da 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 da. And you can actually permutate that just like you do these and get like a bunch of versions of that too, at least a couple. Now these aren't the most important rhythms in the world, they're just the ones that I use to kind of show this concept. You can do it with a bunch of other rhythms as well, but once you sort of get into it, you can kind of start to do it automatically if you learn it. If you learn it correctly, the process, but it's going to sound like this. That's actually the easiest way to get into it. Let's play the right hand with the right mic. Of course, you can do both hands also, but try doing it with just quarter notes instead of the jazz ride pattern. So we're going to go ting, 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 boom, 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 boom.
with different dynamics, make it really, really loud.
Okay.
You know, and this is something I sort of do with my jazz heads because a lot of them don't swing. Number one, they don't swing like this. Number two, they don't swing in big band or whatever it is that you're trying to do. And definitely, or in rock bands too, start sounding a lot more.
You mind if I go get the fan?
Yeah.
Huh?
Is that your snare?
Yeah.
Cranks, baby. Sounds kind of like a marching band snare. Listen to the snares a little bit. You got it so tight it sounds like it's choked.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. So have you talked to them about what you're doing next year, or are you sticking around here?
I'm gonna stick around probably because there's so much on there. But I haven't talked to them yet.
They talked about where it's gonna be? I didn't mean listen to the snare head, I meant listen to actual snares. Yeah, wherever, I think. You hear the snare, listen to a little more. The snare bed, the snare wires.
How do I do that? I've never
Little knob on top.
This?
Yeah. You just that before, right? Maybe not that much. Let's see. Oh, you don't have a snare head on the bottom.
Nope.
You got a regular head.
Yep.
You need a reso head, that's why. Yeah, the snare skin on the bottom is super thin. So give you more snare response, but partially this is the way you got to do it. You put a regular snare head on there, and tune a little bit lower, you get a little more snare response.
Okay.
And then also, how you have this right here will affect it too. I can't tell if there's snare hitting on that or not. So there's a kind of concept when you play a drum fill or playing around the kit at all that for most of us are right-handed, so your right hand's kind of the melody and you fill it with the left hand. And you can do it with swing rhythms like you heard us doing when you walked in. He was going ding, 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 ding. You fill it with the left hand. You can also do this with Latin rhythms, which I have some right here and I'll just sing them to you. And what we're going to do is we're going to do our right hand on this rhythm. And we're going to sort of, when I tell you to move your right hand around, you're going to do that, or your left, or both, or some sort of thing like that. So what we're going to do with these is going to be basically with no feet at first, and then we may add some feet, foot patterns. The first rhythm is pop, 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 pop. think of it in the unorthodox way of counting, it would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. If you count it the regular way, it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Or 16, that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and